That's the one?
That's the one that revoked the $100. Yeah. So
Hey there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We all know what that means now, don't we? Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. Big day in Austin today. We're going to get to that, but first, introduce yourself.
Hey, Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Services, and God, I need plenty of Milky Way. So if you want a Milky Way, let me know. Ask, send it.
How are you going to get it to them?
There it is, and we'll give it to you.
Joining us is one of my favorite guests. Introduce yourself.
Doug Griffith, I'm president of the Houston Police Officers Union, and I have my handy dandy monster.
Everybody's got some of me. I got a phone that's turned off. Oh yeah, I have candy. This is it's kind of a do or die, right?
Yes.
Do or die day in Austin for some of the proposed laws that would affect judges and bonds. Let's go over this.
It's where worlds collide between now and midnight. We're at the point of no return.
Right.
That's a good Kansas song, by the way.
It is. I love that song.
Great reference right there. So
quit showing our age.
Hey, they're actually coming to Sugar Land in October. So you'll see people like me in a walker.
Right.
Or something like that. So there's two big bills that are being heard, hopefully by the House today, if they can get through with, other stuff right now. So there's a midnight deadline. So first one is SJR 44. Now, remember I asked you last time what SJR is? And you're looking at
Senate Joint Resolution.
You got it. See, you earned that.
You can learn things on this live stream.
See that? Senate Joint Resolution 44, sponsored by State Senator Joan Huffman.
Yeah.
This was a bill that actually was sponsored first in 2021, but it failed by 12 votes in the House. It's a constitutional amendment, basically to allow Texas voters to decide whether or not judges should have discretion. Keyword discretion.
Right.
Not to grant bond to defendants charged with certain violent crimes. Right
because
now,
judges are limited by the Constitution. The only crime that they can deny bond for is capital murder. Now, this would allow judges to deny bond for other violent offenses. Human smuggling is one of the ones, I think. Human trafficking.
Sexual assault, other murders as well. It gives them a little bit more latitude and leeway because right now their hands are tied by the Constitution. So the judges that I've spoken to and the ones that will still speak to me have indicated they
Which are few and far between, but
actually a few more. So they said, we need discretion. And look, right here, you have a judge that we have featured many times on Breaking Bond.
Judge Chris Morton.
So Judge Chris Morton, actually, I've not seen this before. I've never seen a public comment by a sitting jurist on a legislative bill. And I've run this by a few. Have you ever seen this, Doug?
No, sir.
Because basically you're not supposed
to say anything about anything.
Because it could affect, and obviously this will, but he makes it clear he's not here in support or opposition.
Right.
If you read it, and again, it's public, it's fairly obvious from looking at it, and anybody.
And the most important thing right here towards the end, he says, I do believe that this resolution will have a positive impact on public safety and will advance our criminal law towards a fair system of pretrial detention.
So let it be known that today at 3:03 p.m. on our live stream that you and I, and I'm assuming Doug would also, we agree with Judge Chris Morton.
Yes.
We're on the same page.
Do you think it would be good?
Yeah,
the thing
that's a wow moment.
I really appreciate the fact that Judge Chris Morton would go out and make his feelings known on this. No, hey, I'm all for it.
Where credit
yes,
is due.
yes.
Because we've had plenty of reasons to bash him in the past.
Right, and Judge Morton, Judge Morton was one that would always point out that our hands are tied. We can only deny bond for capital murder defendants.
Yes and no, because I'm going to tell you, he's also lied to people when he's turned around and said, "Oh, I have to give a bond." No, once the guy violates the provisions of the first bond,
Thank you.
he
Yes.
does not have to give a second bond.
Right, right. And as a judge, you have the ability to say, you know what, Randy Wallace, you violated your bond too many times. You're going to set your butt in jail till you go to trial.
Absolutely.
Judges have the power to do that.
They absolutely do.
Yeah, this idea of, well, I'm the judge and I sit here and I really can't do anything. No, I mean, you're sort of the king of the castle of the courtroom, right?
Once they violate the first probation, the bond, first bond. Once they violate the first one, you don't have to give them a second, third,
Right.
fourth, or fifth.
That's why we're seeing this stuff now, correct? Back in the years ago, if you violated your bond, you were not going to get another bond. A judge, very rarely would that ever happen. And again, it's the same Texas Constitution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And trust me, I'm glad that he put this out there.
Right.
I'm glad. I wish more judges would see that and actually take the stand that he did.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of him for doing that. I just want them to understand that they can have this up front all they want, but they're not fixing it in the back end, the second, third, and fourth case.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
how many times have we seen this where a guy, we're about to talk about a guy on 4 felony bonds? How does that happen?
Right. Yeah. That's where it gets crazy. And again, and I'm sure you would agree too. We didn't see any of this before, 2018, 2019, when it was all started.
You could count them on my one hand.
Right.
And take off a few fingers. It was so rare. And it used to be the adage of 1 bond per customer.
I would argue, Andy would call me and he'd be like, I got a defendant that, and I'd be like, that's not possible, Andy. You can't be out on 5 bonds. And, typical Andy, here, look, so black and white. Andy was always proven to. But I had a hard time understanding it when we first started looking into this because it makes no sense. Before, in the past, you didn't get 5, 6, 7, 8 bonds. Everybody has the right to get a bond. There's no doubt about that. And you get a bond, you're able to continue working, you're able to go on with your life until you go to trial. That's how it should be. That's how it's supposed to be. But if while you're on bond, if you keep running into the law and you get all these other charges, then that means you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Right?
Absolutely. Sometimes, some of these guys that need to be locked up, and that's just plain and simple. They're
Right.
violent offenders. They need to be in jail. The problem really started with Harvey, and then after that, when the courts were closed, because they weren't having trials.
Right.
So you got your most violent offenders in jail. Well, if we've got violent offenders and our most violent are in there, how do we marriage that where we can keep them in? They're overcrowded, so they started shipping them to Louisiana, started
Right.
shipping them to Oklahoma. We are paying a lot of money to house people that aren't even in the state of Texas, but they're our offenders.
Right.
We have to get the courts doing their job. And still, I'm not sure, there's only a handful of them, I believe, that are out there actually having legitimate cases day in, day out.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. It's like, maybe it's time to have court on a weekend or court at night, or to try to get some of these cases adjudicated and done and off the books. I mean, that's what needs to happen.
Well, these defense attorneys are good at what they do.
Right.
They really are. They know they'll get a guy with 4, 5, 6 bonds. They'll walk in there, they'll plead him for something minor to just clear those cases out,
Right.
and they'll walk out, and then we'll see him again.
Yeah.
What's the story we did last week? And the guy, they wrote 6 felonies,
Mhm.
6 felony convictions. That sounds, wow. But they were all rolled into one.
1 year. He got 1 year
He
for
got
6 felonies.
6
Yeah.
years for 6 felony convictions. They're all
Yes.
convicted,
Mhm.
but all rolled into one. You're talking about 6 for 1. That was amazing. And then, he got popped with 43 guns.
Well, and okay, if you're a criminal, if you're not going to do, if I keep breaking the law and all you're going to do is send me home, I'm going to keep breaking the law because why not? Right? It's like there's nothing really going to happen to me.
Well, I mean, you keep doing it until you get locked up.
It's risky.
Once you get locked up once, then I can quit. But until then, I'm going to keep making money doing what I got to do.
Right.
And we see it all the time. A lot of people don't know that we have a lot of narcotics come through the airport. A lot. We've had like 40 of those cases dismissed over the last year. year and a half because of not being able to test narcotics. So people understand why would I stop doing that?
Right.
We've got repeat offenders now that are coming through the airport with large quantities. I'm not talking about like a pound of marijuana. I'm talking like 40, 50, 60 pounds of marijuana come through the airport to get popped. They're right back out. And the cases are dismissed because they can't test.
It's
Crazy.
going to be interesting to see on this session if we get any additional courts.
Right, yeah. And that, we were talking earlier, the Chronicle has a really good editorial
Another
on,
thing I'm thinking about. So now we're praising the Chronicle.
I know,
right now,
and
too.
we've been
This is like-
smacked.
This is like opposite.
All the
day.
people that have smacked,
This
it's
is
Freaky
totally
Friday.
Opposite day.
I'm Jamie Lee Curtis. And you're Lindsay Lohan.
Seinfeld
It's
had
Freaky
that great
Friday.
segment, Opposite Day, where we're doing everything.
All right.
Totally. This is kind of, the Chronicle came out with a very powerful.
Yeah, it's very good. And it talks about the need to let the public vote on changing the Constitution and concentrate on, there are people that don't need to be in jail. They didn't commit a violent offense there. Maybe they are sitting there because they can't afford a bond. Well, they need to be out. The people that need to be in jail are repeat violent offenders. That's who we need to house in jail.
Correct. And, I find it kind of funny because I was listening to a radio station the other day and they made the comment, we got so many people in jail for marijuana and this, that,
That's not
and it's
true.
like, it's just not accurate.
That's
people.
not true.
We don't have a guy from 1979 still in the jail because he had a pound of marijuana back then.
Right, and there's
It's not
nobody sitting
accurate.
in jail because they stole some $20 something from Target.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is not the case. Nobody, and I don't think anybody is sitting in jail charged with a DWI. Do you?
Nope.
I mean, there's these PR bonds. I mean, if they're sitting in jail, it's because they want to sit in jail, right? It's not
Well, they're
because
not even going to keep them even if they want to
They
sit there. They're
push
going
them
to
out
put them out. They want room for people that actually belong there.
I know you want 3 meals, but you
Yeah,
got
I
to
get it.
go.
You gotta
You
go.
got
Look
to
at
go.
the headline today. Angry about dangerous people out on bond. Amend the Texas Constitution.
Right.
And again, I see no downside with letting Texas voters decide whether it's a good thing.
Best way to do it, if you
Or
ask
bad thing.
me. And I truly believe that people would probably vote for it. I think they would want to see
I'll
it.
go out on a limb.
Yeah, exactly.
And say, it's a slam, you hate to, no, I think it will happen and it should happen. I don't see any downside. It's not a mandate. It's simply discretion. But what makes a constitutional amendment different from a regular legislative bill is it's not a simple majority. You have to have two-thirds
Correct.
coming out.
It's passed the Senate, right? So right now, it's just trying to get 2/3 of the House by
It's
midnight
going to
tonight.
be interesting to see how our local delegation votes on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is going to be, to me, the most fascinating
Well,
aspect.
I know of two at least that are going to be voting for it, Whitmire and Huffman.
Yeah.
So
That's already
now
done
we
in the
gotta-
Senate.
Yeah,
This is all the House.
Oh, the
This
House.
This is,
my mistake.
yeah, this is the House. The Senate was,
And they'll also be voting on, we've talked about
The
this a
other one.
lot, making, not allowing a personal recognizance bond for the charge of felon in possession of a weapon.
don't you find that oxymoronic? You're a felon and you've got a firearm, a gun. And in some cases, we've seen machine gun.
You're right.
And you're let right back out on a PR bond. I just,
Yeah.
30 years.
If you're a felon in possession of a weapon, you're up to no good.
Absolutely.
You've already
You've proven you're not going to be a productive member of society with a couple of felony convictions. Then you're
Right.
out there with a
And
weapon
if
as
that's
well.
what you want to be, if you're going to, okay, I'm going to turn my life around, then I don't need to be walking around with a gun if I'm a convicted felon. I'm asking for trouble, right? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
like, why do that if you
And-
want to?
Now that y'all said that, I don't know if y'all are aware, but they killed the bill for the Glock switches, submachine gun switches.
Really?
That bill did not make it out. And I'm really agitated about that. We had one officer killed, 3 others injured over these stupid switches that have no purpose whatsoever.
What happened? Give us a.
It's my understanding that the Second Amendment lobby got into the Republicans and said they would have people run against them.
Yeah.
And if that's accurate, shame on them for not standing up and being adults and saying, hey, look, we got to get this done. Because those switches serve no purpose for hunting,
Right.
no purpose for anything except killing people.
Right.
You
And
also
that's
have-
on them.
And trying to kill a lot of people at once.
Absolutely.
And that's where you lose a lot of credibility. Some
Yes.
the groups that the gun rights organizations,
Absolutely.
because they also testified against making a minimum maximum sentence
Mhm.
on anyone using a gun.
Yeah.
And that's just
committing a
crazy.
crime.
If you're out committing crimes with a gun, the lawful gun owner should be against that. Just saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's not the same. People get confused. I mean, we're in Texas. Texans, we love our guns.
Absolutely.
But it's one thing to have a hunting rifle, and it's another thing to have a machine gun. You don't need a machine gun to go hunting. I mean, and you don't need a machine gun to protect your home, for your own personal safety. Machine guns are for people that want to go out and commit mass shootings.
That in the military.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Outside of that, I see no purpose in it. I'm a big gun rights guy. I'm telling you, I think anybody that can own a gun should.
Sure.
I think everybody should be trained up. They should take a class, carry that gun with them all the time because, hey, let's just be honest, we can't be everywhere.
Right.
We can't.
Right. That's right.
In a city this size, with the low amount of officers we have, it is what it is. Everybody, go take a class, get a permit, carry a weapon with you. No problem with anybody doing that. But there's certain things like these switches, certain things like these. I can't remember what they're called now, but there's a mechanism that'll go on a rifle that'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely zero purpose for those.
I've
There's
seen
just
more
not.
and more cases I've seen more and more cases filed like this, possession of prohibited weapon, where they turn a firearm into
Yeah.
a machine gun-like weapon.
It's
And
just
we
little-
see people that they'll have that charge, and then they'll have a charge of having illegal body armor.
The body armor, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, why do you need that? If you're not up to no good, why do you need this?
Where do you go buy that?
Right.
Well, you can get it online. You can go to any police supply place and buy body armor,
Yeah.
unless you're a felon.
Right.
Maybe next time you're here, you can bring some for Randy and I to wear. God knows we need it.
Right. Body armor.
Get you some of the good stuff, sir. Get you some of the good
So
stuff.
Yeah, there you
the other
go.
part of the bill has to do with magistrates.
Yes.
And magistrates are this powerful entity in the judiciary that very few people are
Even know their
aware of.
names.
They don't even, nobody knows who they are.
They're not voted on. Nobody puts it's not the public saying, oh, I want this
You don't get
person
the
to be
vote
the
on these people.
magistrate.
You don't get to vote on these people.
No. And they basically do what they want to do.
They kind of
right?
control the in and out, open the door or close the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're the first ones that are going to open the door for anybody.
And I know you will agree with me when I say this. We were talking about Judge Morton before. We have seen, since we've been doing breaking bond, there are judges out there that they're setting bonds higher, and they're really looking at some of these defendants hard before they just let them out. I mean, that's really changed a lot, hasn't it?
Well, Senate Bill 6, I think last session, helped with that a little bit.
Yes.
It helped with it a little bit because it forced the judges to have to look at the criminal histories, which they should have been doing all along,
Right.
but they don't. So that helped a little bit. The problem is, if you look at that criminal history and you disregard it, what good is it?
Right.
Because still, at the end of the day, they have absolute immunity. And that's something that I believe needs to be checked.
I do too.
Absolute immunity means they can do whatever they want, whatever they want. Nobody can hold them accountable.
And right now, how does it work? Who appoints magistrates?
Commissioner's Court, Harris County.
Harris County Commissioners Court decides who's going to be a magistrate.
And they have no agenda.
Not a political agenda, but why? I mean, it's sort of like, what does Commissioners Court have to do with a magistrate in a criminal court setting? Right?
Everything's political in this world, right?
Right.
Depends on if your case is before them or not.
Right. Yeah, I guess so.
There's living proof of
That could happen.
It absolutely
This
could happen.
bill, if it passes, could change that.
Yeah. What would it do?
It will have the administrator of the courts, an actual judge,
Yeah.
Right.
make that determination who will be at the probable cause hearings, which is probably the most important first step. It is
Of course,
the
because
first
And
we have a
that-
lot of cases.
right.
A lot of our cases get kicked at the the probable cause court because, one, they don't want to have to deal with it. Number two, they can be instructed by whoever runs that house to say, hey, look, 50% of those need to go away. You decide what.
And that's the magistrate that's sitting there listening to the probable cause and deciding whether or not it should proceed or just go away right then at that moment.
Now, I will have to give some props to Kim Hogg here because we've had many of cases that were kicked out of probable cause and she has taken before a grand jury.
Yeah.
And that is something that has helped, I know for us, some of our bigger investigations, because they'll kick it in probable cause court because, well, either they don't know, they don't understand, or they don't care.
Right.
And then she will take it to the grand jury and get some of those things, get an indictment on it.
Well, and through this whole situation with the multiple bonds, I mean, Kim has been vocal about that being an issue, that has contributed to crime in Houston. So yeah, she's definitely been on top of that one. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Did we forget anything with these?
No, so that's happening today. The other one, there's a couple other feel-good bills that we got that are gonna get, and they're getting passed unless something happens.
Right.
Or the House, basically, it's a great, this is where things get really tricky, where there's a lot of undermining things that go on the last day to kill bills that should get passed.
When is the last, when does it end?
Well, you got till midnight tonight to get it voted out by the House,
That's it.
period.
Correct.
Unless there's some.
And they will go till midnight and they're rushing around there like ants.
And a lot of
Yeah,
times
it's,
things will, oh, sorry, we couldn't get to it because time ran out.
Mhm.
Right.
So you got a lot of bills that end up getting buried. You know,
Mhm.
I'll tell a very quick story. This was aeons ago when we had the bill to witness executions. There's no opposition on the bill. Even the ACLU didn't object to having victim. So all we needed was a full House vote. I get a call from the House sponsor of the bill. At that time, you might remember, Kevin Bailey was the House sponsor at that time in the Greenspoint hearing. Said, we got a problem. So what? He said, the chairman of the calendars committee is in a feud with the co-sponsor of the bill, who at that time was John Culberson.
Yeah.
And he said, unless Culberson removes his name from the bill, he's going to bury it so it doesn't come up for a vote. Sure enough, none of them were going to budge.
Mhm.
And sure enough, it was put on the bottom and time ran out.
Yep.
Sorry, we couldn't get to it in time. You know, try again.
That's sad that laws could come down to personality. Well, I don't like you and you don't like me.
That's just it. Right now, in the House and in the Senate, we have a battle going on between two groups, and they can't get over it. Sometimes these legislators, both senators, representatives, need to be adults,
Yeah.
and sometimes they just can't do it. And I'll call them out like I see them, Republican and Democrat. If you're one of those, man up, woman up, handle your business up there. Get these bills passed that are going to help the public. Don't stonewall or push them to the bottom. Things that are truly going to affect the day in and day out of public, the citizens of Texas.
Public safety.
Yeah.
Public safety is first and foremost right now. You look across this state at what's going on in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, here. It's a problem. Fix it. They can do it. They have the ability. They have the money. Fix it.
Right.
So the clock is ticking.
Tick, 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 tick,
It's
tick.
happening right now.
It is.
You know, if I was the news director at Fox, I would probably have you ready to go live. At
Oh, if you were the news director at Fox, I'd be fired. You'd push me out the door. I wouldn't even have a job anymore. Don't say that.
What are we
Yeah,
what are we
Oh,
doing
no,
now?
finish that. I'd be live at midnight doing
Midnight
what?
to say whether this has happened or not. The
In
clock
Austin.
strikes- yeah,
In Austin.
you
He will be at the
have fine.
Capitol
If you
steps.
leave here, yeah, you, especially with Raymond you'll be there before,
He'll be out there with all the homeless folks.
Right.
and then you can actually say only on Fox.
Only on Fox.
Only on Fox.
I love
right?
to say only on Fox.
Only on Fox. Right.
Right. Where
No,
it's
you have to go to
fun.
6th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4th Street, there's a bunch of homeless folks. 6th Street is still kind of cleaned out.
Austin's
You know what I mean?
changed.
Oh
It
my God.
has.
Not,
Hey,
not for the
You're
good.
not going
No.
to find police officers
No.
downtown. The only police
Yes.
officers downtown are DPS.
Remember when they used
I'm
to,
telling you.
remember when, what was it? Austin was like Texas's best kept secret.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
everybody knows about Austin now, don't they?
They do.
It's like expensive to live there. The traffic is awful.
No cops.
Yeah.
No cops. It's a beautiful town that's turned to garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It really
sad.
is a beautiful town.
It is. Oh,
It's,
yes. It's-
but it's
It's our version of San Francisco.
absolutely,
yeah, right. Yeah.
absolutely.
That was a good way to put it.
No offense, San Francisco.
The, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah.
Nice guy.
Be sure to watch tonight's Breaking Bond. It's one of these where habitual offender. The guy has 8 misdemeanor convictions, 3 felony convictions. He gets 4 bonds in March. 4 bonds, 1 for aggravated robbery, 1 for felon possession of a weapon. Then this month, he gets popped again for burglary of a motor vehicle, and a magistrate gives him a $100 bond.
That
Which
was
means
some
for
tease
$1.
You just gave away. the
I did.
entire-
That was too
entire
much.
Segment.
Maybe you
of
should
that.
be the
Hold on,
news
we can go
director.
back and exit.
Hey, I have one takeaway of that. This guy sucks at being a crook. He
Right?
continues to get caught over and over. and
Yes.
over.
Very good.
It's like,
at this.
consider a different career path.
Absolutely.
Same time, we
Yes.
keep putting them out to do it, so.
You
We're
know,
enablers.
Yes, exactly. Oh my
Hey.
gosh.
Well, what if that, the officers on the road that see this guy over and over again and catch him and throw him in?
They've
Oh,
heard-
it's frustrating. It really is because he's just rolled up. You got get in the car. Again.
You're right,
Let's go.
yeah.
We all know him by first name.
Yeah,
basis.
exactly.
Back again.
And I can tell you, there's officers that probably know him on a first name basis, and because remember when I worked Southeast, there were certain cats I knew.
Yeah.
That guy.
You saw them all the time.
Come on back over here.
Yeah, they come back from a sabbatical and they come back.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Hey, thank you for watching. Be sure to watch Breaking Bond on tonight's Fox 26 News at 9. Be kind to yourself and everyone else. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.